during this pandemic.
Let's take a global stand against COVID.
Team Talks every Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Pacific times, only on TVASIA Telugu.
Hi, this is 𝗧𝗘𝗙𝗡 welcoming you back to Teen Talk. I welcome you all to the grand finale of the Global Stand Against COVID event series, covering one of our most awaited topics. As you all already know, GSA COVID is a student-driven initiative attempting to help students across our global community cope with one of the pressing challenges posed by COVID-19, keeping strong mental health. Given that the COVID-19 pandemic has put a lot of students under immense pressure due to the ever-escalating expectations in terms of different learning and proving models, the Global Stand Against COVID is an attempt by a few of us students to help create awareness around the mental health challenges that have been further escalated during this pandemic. In addition to creating awareness through our panel discussions on top student concerns, which have been aggregated through polling over 100 students, our GSA COVID student team, affiliated with the New Jersey Renaissance Leo Club, hopes to reach students across the globe and be able to provide various kinds of support in order to strengthen their mental health. Over the past 2 weeks, we have had panelists provide their insights and recommendations on several questions across various age groups of students. The first week, we focused on health and wellness related concerns, like how to maintain a healthy mindset about this pandemic, how to start a mental health conversation with parents, and more. This past week, we focused on stress and exhaustion related concerns, like simple techniques to relieve stress for students, how to stay motivated when a student feels a bit low, and many more. Our panelists came from a variety of broad backgrounds, ranging from authors, life and leadership coaches, movie makers, as well as technology and healthcare leaders. This enabled students watching and following us to get 360-degree feedback on how to dust themselves off and get back on their feet when faced with challenges on a daily basis due to this pandemic. Today, being our finale event of our awareness series, we're going to be focusing on one of the most awaited topics of the series, our academic future. With this pandemic both impacting and changing the fundamental modes of education, a lot of us students are unsure when it comes to knowing and making the right decisions towards determining our academic future. And that's exactly what our focus is today. Hence, our panelists come from various educational backgrounds, ranging from teachers to principals to career guidance coaches, and also university professors and industry leaders who are closely involved in the admissions and hiring decisions. Again, in addition to some new panelists joining us today, we have some returning panelists from the past 2 weeks who have continued to make time for us amidst their very hectic schedules and are here to provide their insights and recommendations to students with concerns around their academic futures. We do want to highlight, as always, that the recommendations provided through this show are informational in nature and should not be used in place of proper medical advice. I am more than excited to introduce our panelists for today. Our new panelists for today are 𝗧𝗘𝗡 currently serves as the Vice Principal of the Academy of Visual Performing Arts in Trenton Central High School. She has been in public education for the past 15 years and is one of the first 2 Asian immigrant administrators in K-12 education in New Jersey. As a 2017 Fulbright Grant recipient for advocating global education, she has traveled and taught in Senegal. Her other passion is dance, and through her performing arts company, she has created an open performance space free for creative collaboration in an effort to raise money for various charities. She has a bachelor's in economics, master's in political science, and has completed her doctoral coursework in education, and her current research focus is on digital learning and equity. Pramila Natarajan is a high school science teacher with more than 10 years of experience in teaching different biological sciences. She also has a master's in special education and public administration. She has also been tutoring students for over 20 years in language arts and sciences. Teaching is her passion, and she loves the challenge of inspiring young minds every day that will help them grow academically, socially, and emotionally. Nikita Vaswani is an assistant vice president at Health First, a New York-based health plan with over 1.5 million members. In her role, she is responsible for leading the customer digital transformation efforts for this organization. She holds a Master's of Science from Babson College and an MBA from Harvard Business School. She has over 18 years of experience within the healthcare space, where she specializes in strategy, organizational design, and transformations. 𝗧𝗘𝗙𝗚 is a recent graduate from Pennsylvania State University. She studied finance and Spanish. Currently, she works as a financial analyst at Accenture, a leading global consulting firm. And now our returning panelist for this week. Arvind Grubersov is a managing director in a leading investment bank. He's been in the financial services industry for over 15 years. He graduated from Indian School of Business with an MBA degree and from Oregon State University with an MS degree. Sriram Natarajan is an associate professor at the Director Center for Machine Learning in the Department of Computer Science at the University of Texas. He is also the director of Starling Lab at UT Dallas. He has published several research papers in the field of artificial intelligence and machine learning, and teaches doctorate students. 𝗧𝗘𝗡 𝗧𝗘𝗡 is an associate professor of accounting and teaches financial accounting and financial statement analysis to MBAs. He is a recipient of the London Business School Excellence in Teaching Award. 𝗧𝗘𝗡 is a Tony Robbins certified coach and executive functioning coach with a proven track record of 20 years in the corporate world. 𝗦𝘂𝗍𝗆 𝗬𝗏 is a Kumon instructor. She has been working with Kumon for over 10 years. She is passionate about helping children progress and achieve their academic goals. There have been several interesting questions that we have aggregated from our polls surrounding the concerns related to academics. I can't wait to get started. Let's start with our first question. One of the prominent high school concerns around changes to the college admissions process.
What are some things I can do now that will set me apart in college applications now that the SATs are not required?
It's not required. This is a fantastic question and an extremely important question, right? I will start with this. I have been on admissions committee for about 7 years now at different levels, both at the graduate and the undergraduate level. And I can tell you one thing, all these scores, SAT, GRE, they are what you call as necessary condition. They are not the sufficient conditions, which means just because you have a high GRE score doesn't mean you're guaranteed to get into a grad school, or just because you have a good SAT score doesn't mean you're going to get into an undergrad school. So the point is that they are necessary conditions, which means there is a basic threshold beyond which we would consider all the applications. So what I would say is focus on improving your skill set, okay? If you're applying to a technical field like STEM, understand and improve your STEM technologies and maybe familiarize yourself with programming, math, science, go above and beyond and start understanding this. Do research on the schools that you're applying, both in terms of the faculty and the strengths of the department. Understand why you're applying to a particular school much more deeply. Understand how you fit in that school much more deeply. Now you have time. You don't have to prepare for SAT. You can spend that time and energy on understanding your fit to a particular department, fit to a group of faculty, and see if there is something that you can learn from there. I would also say organize your achievements as much as possible, right? As much as possible, you should understand that you have you have given me a few minutes to look at your application. Okay, it's not like I'm going to just take like 3 minutes and throw the application out, right? I'm going to take some time, but it really varies. Some applications I take 6 to 7 minutes, sometimes I take 15 minutes trying to understand this application, all the way from your statement, sometimes from your strong letters and so on. It becomes extremely important when you apply for scholarship that you have very strong letters from your teachers, because your school teachers have really seen you much closer than we as college professors would do. So I would really value those letters a lot. So I would focus on getting strong letters. I would focus on getting your problem statement, your research statement, your undergraduate statement strongly, your scholarship statement, and understand and organize it correctly. Okay, just don't copy and paste. We can all tell the leaves from the weeds. So make sure that you write your statement in a clear manner. Just don't use I was always fascinated from computer the moment I saw the first Mac. I mean, that is really boring. Don't start there. Say if you're doing computer science, why you want to do computer science, what is this particular aspect of computer science that you're interested in. Okay, math, so explain why you're doing math. If you're doing something like statistics, again explain why data science is interesting for you and why you believe that is the future. If you're doing business, again explain why you're doing it. So understand why you are doing it. If you're doing business, bring in your entrepreneurship and explain this. I know there is another professor from business school who's on the panel who would give you better tips on that. But as a STEM education, put yourself in the best possible manner by organizing your thoughts.
From a college application standpoint, I think over the years the process has evolved from scores like SAT and GMAT and GRE. It's becoming more individualistic. So what do you have? What do you bring to the table? What can others learn from you? So being you, the individualism is the most important aspect of any college application right now. What can you offer to the school? What can you offer to your fellow students is the most important aspect. So be yourself, but take the time to reflect. Take a step back, reflect on your experiences and interesting things you've learned. You've been through a life and a career that no one else has been. So you have definitely something unique about yourself, and sharing that is going to be the most important part. So when you write your college applications, whether it's statement of purpose or anything, from an application essay standpoint, just take a lot of time to think through. When you write an essay, a couple of days when you read it, you'll be like, what was I thinking? Why did I write something like that? So evolve through that process, and like in 6 months time, you'll have a phenomenally cool essay that reflects who you are.
The most important things that I have to say is to the rising seniors. Yes, standardized tests are gone. The colleges are not going to accept them, or some of them are going to. Guess what the college is going to rely their admissions on? Your essay. You know what? Your essay is a window into your personality, right? So at this time, I would strongly urge you guys to write your essays, have different modification of it, like the Common App, the supplemental essays, and also the questions that are out there. I think it's August, and all the colleges have released their essay topics. I suggest that you have a draft or sort of an outline as to what you'd like to express. And trust me, the admissions officers, they know how to pick the best fruit in a whole lot, right? So that answer is your essay. How emotional are you? How authentic are you? How genuine are you? How driven are you? And how well you express yourself and let them know that you're going to add massive value in the future. So I would say focus on your essays and also your grades, right? And if you can push yourself with academics by taking in more APs, focusing on your academics. So these are some of the strategies.
Again, competition shouldn't change much, because SAT scores, as I said, are a necessary but not sufficient condition. I'm really, as a professor who's looking at several applications, I am really looking at academic and extracurricular activities along with strong letters. So the notion of competition is still probably the same. It doesn't change that much. Good students will still get in. Focus on your grades in school. Focus on your letters that you are getting from your school teachers. Make sure you have the appropriate skill set. Understand why year applying to a particular school. So the competition to me doesn't change.
Most colleges are looking for students who can demonstrate a sense of curiosity, a sense of an interest in wanting to learn new things, experiment with new things. So one of the best things that students can do now to help them prepare for those college applications is to explore, to learn, and try new things. Maybe things that aren't in their comfort area, maybe things that they never thought they would want to do. And I think that's one of the best things that, especially now where students are virtual, is seek out those opportunities to maybe take a class online, something you may not have done, or to pick up, an adventure or a new craft, to help show colleges that, things aren't going to stop them from trying new things, and the environments around them become a new sense of wanting to learn.
All these inputs definitely summarize the crux of what we as high school students can focus on while still working on our college applications, even in the absence of standardized exams. We should work on our individuality and our passion and put time and effort into our essays and recommendations. And of course, research into and select the right colleges that match our aspirations, as well as highlight what we would be providing to the college as well. Moving on to our next high schooler concern.
Students are stressed about the new adaptations that may take place during the remote learning time period of the 2020-2021 school year. What may some of these adaptations entail, and how can a student prepare for it now?
I'd like to first focus on what hasn't changed. The curriculum remains the same, and most importantly, the teacher's commitment towards students remain the same. If not more, actually, given that they are not able to meet them face to face. Many schools had already adopted digital curriculum across content areas prior to the emergent crisis, but across the board, teaching and learning have undergone a shift, obviously. So students are now required to rely more on digital resources, assume more responsibility in participating in the learning process, adapt to a relatively more independent path to learning. Yes, it's a new way of schooling, but is it new, and is it a new environment for our students? This generation is very comfortable with the digital space. They have to adapt less than their teachers. I think many educators may benefit from learning from their students on how to navigate this new learning environment. All the fabulous apps that are out there, I love exploring them. There is so much to learn. It's so much fun learning, so many new things. When we were students, we didn't even have access. And there was just one linear way of teaching and learning. And look at it now, it's expanded. This pandemic has actually forced us to open up our minds. So adaptation is always good. That's how we thrive. So one element that is still up in the air is testing, but that is not something that you need to think about right away. There are schools who are not focusing on SAT scores for the next 3 years. So talk to your counselor and see what that is looking like and what that means for you. So I do agree that one of the major shifts that many of our students are adapting to is a lack of social peer-to-peer interaction. It's a very important element of the regular school day. And I miss that the most, when I'm walking around in the hallways, when I'm sitting alone in my office. I miss that piece. So I'm sure all the students are missing that too. And that's a new environment that we all are adapting to, working in an isolated space without real-time, face-to-face interaction. So what can you do to kind of make it easier for you? What about forming informal peer groups with your classmates if you haven't already done that? For elementary school students, parents can help forming these group chats, communicate and advocate for yourself, for your siblings, that is something which is very important. Keep your communication open with your teachers, with your peers, with your counselors. Reach out, share your thoughts. that is one of the best ways to make sense of all the new adaptations that may come your way. But as of now, from the state, from the school, all things are set. You will be getting more information as you enter the school year, I'm sure. And schools are trying to keep it as transparent and as easy as possible for you all. Make sure you keep that line of communication constantly open.
So the thing is that many of us are still adapting. I'm a computer science professor, which means that I have worked with many of these technologies all the time, but I'm still learning to adapt. It used to be Blackboard, then it was e-learning, and then e-learning had a backboard. Then we went to Microsoft Teams. Some schools still use Zoom. So there's a lot of these moving parts. I use WebEx. So there are many technologies that even academics use. And so they don't really share attributes all the time. So we as teachers are actually taking a lot more time than students to prepare the classes. We think deeply about how a class would be most effective, right? It's the question of making the communication both effective and efficient. And that is something that we teachers are spending a lot of time trying to get on board. So I feel like teachers are much more under pressure on preparing for these courses. And many of them are going above and beyond, okay? But my advice to students is the following. Scale down expectations a little bit, okay? So the question of, I'm paying so much money, well, I'm only getting online course is also not quite right, because the teachers are still putting more effort to get this delivered to you. Actually, for me, an online teaching in class is actually much easier, because I have my method of teaching. I make my jokes. I pick students to answer questions, keep the communication going. I have my presentation on one side, my whiteboard on the other. I can just power through wherever I need to explain something in my PowerPoint. I go to my whiteboard and I can quickly write things, and students can see. It doesn't work that way anymore. So we are spending a lot of energy. Actually, it takes much more effort for me teaching online than I did directly. And you know what the most important problem here is? That every time after I teach online, I actually get a headache, because of the fact that it requires way more work. So understand this and scale down your expectations. Understand that we are all in this. This is not an ideal framework for all of us. We want to get back to classroom teaching as safely as possible. That is our key, not only for us, for everyone around. So first, I think what can you do to mitigate issues with online classes? Scale down your expectations. A. B. Try to familiarize with the hardware. Your hardware can surprise you more than you imagine. Okay, running two things at the same time might just crash your computer. So try and practice and understand that if I'm running at something with that requires a lot of bandwidth, maybe I need to tone down my other hardware that is running YouTube or playing a real-time strategy game or whatever, right? So understand your Wi-Fi requirements that you have at home. Go to speedtest.net, understand the speed of your internet so that you know how much bandwidth you're going to use. Okay. Lastly, probably most importantly, ask the teachers clearly about the requirements. Each class has a different set of requirements, and each teacher has a different set of requirements. The teachers are here to help you. So talk to them about what is expected of you in the class. How are the assignments going to be performed? They may have answers, but some may improvise as we go, and that's okay too. But at least establish that you are interested in understanding the requirements of the class. So understanding the expectations of the teachers and the requirements of the class. I think that would go a long way. So I would say just understand, scaling down expectations, familiarizing with hardware, and understanding requirements and expectations are three key strategies that one could employ to make sure that the adaptations work smoothly.
So whatever you've been saying, it's like swimming, right? So you have been swimming like online sessions would be like swimming in the ocean, right? The metaphor, swimming in the ocean. Now you have to swim in a pool. Of course, you will be able to adapt to whatever it is, online to back to hybrid, right? So, and I'm very sure that our educational system, our teachers, our administrators, our school will ease you into that, right? Your only goal has to be to gain knowledge. I mean, it doesn't matter the delivery, online, hybrid, in person. Bottom line, you're here to gain knowledge, to become a better person, to learn, to contribute, and to grow. So the medium doesn't matter.
Again, talk to your teachers about this. Understand the requirements. Understand how you can make this happen. And by the way, many virtual platforms have collaboration possibilities, right? Blackboard has Blackboard collaborators, and most of these online learning platforms have what are called breakout sessions. In the breakout session, you and your friend can move into a breakout session and work collaboratively. You can share screen, you can work with each other. You can actually, some of these technologies are now allowing you to control the screen on the other side, which means you can even with the permission of your friend control your friend's screen and enter if you, let's say, because I'm a software engineer by training, I always think about how can you code, and you can actually code in your friend's computer from sitting here, and so that's possible. So all these are possible through these virtual online platforms. It actually enriches your experience. You will feel good about this. So again, this is for a short time. And I'm sure you can handle it.
Of course, whatever the adaptations may be, whether it's fully online courses or hybrid courses, it definitely helps to know how to prepare ourselves and present ourselves better by using these tips, as well as perspectives that help us view the situation from the perspective of a teacher or professor as well. The next question is, interestingly, a question brought up by a middle schooler, but I feel it applies to all students.
My parents are always around at home, and it really annoys me when they keep tracking and checking my schoolwork. I think it was better to do my schoolwork at school with teachers. How can I ask for more independence?
So, first of all, let me start with a very cliched statement. All parents are invested in you, they love you, and they want the best for you. And it has been said to you over and over again. You know that to be true, but sometimes I guess we all need reminders of what we take for granted. So why is it that you think your parents are invading your privacy? What is their goal? They just want to make sure that you are on task, that you are serving yourself well, that you are taking your responsibilities seriously. Sometimes they don't see what you think they see, right? So their way of thinking might be different than your way of thinking. So it's a good opportunity for you to entertain multiple perspectives and to learn. See, this is a learning opportunity. So self-advocate, have a conversation with them. If you have younger siblings who are also feeling the same way you are, advocate for them. Its best thing is to sit down and say, you know what, this is what I'm doing. How would, have that transparent conversation. They may not know what you're doing. If they walk into the room, you're taking a brain break, and they think you're just not being responsible and not engaged in learning. So best way is to explain it to them. Best way is to sit down with them and have that conversation. What their expectations are, what your expectations are. It may not be easy, Some parents are not open to conversation, especially immigrant parents who come from conservative backgrounds. We never had an opportunity to have these open, direct conversation with the parents, so we don't really know how to do it, So be the first one to open that door. And sometimes we don't know how to approach our children and how to have that conversation. We are not mind readers, so we really don't know what's going on in your mind. We just see what is presented in front of us. We are products of our own upbringing. We are products of our own culture. So please be patient with us. Have that conversation with your parent. It's also important for you to, to walk that talk, as they say, because if you are asking for that level of independence from your parents, you have to show that you can handle that independence. And sometimes we think we can, and we may not be able to, even as adults, we think we can we have it all figured out, and we don't. I am an online learner, and there are many times when the professor is lecturing me, I am actually fidgeting. I'm not used to sitting in one place and staring at the computer for too long. It hurts my eyes, and I get distracted. And there is no one to tell me and keep me on task. So independence is wonderful. Make sure you are serving yourself in that process. So start by having that conversation with your parent. If you feel that the dynamics are such where you can't have that open conversation, find someone who can, a teacher maybe, who can talk to your parents. There has to be, instead of suffering in silence and instead of getting anxious and upset, the best thing is to have your communication open with your parents.
I think that's a problem that a lot of students complain about to me. Please let your parents know your virtual classroom is also like your real classroom. Please treat the virtual classroom like your real classroom. Okay, that means no sleeping, no having phones in your hand, no listening to music when you're in a virtual classroom. And let your parents know that it makes the teacher also very uncomfortable when the parents are hovering around. But the most important point is, if you are accountable and if you are responsible, talk to your parents, let them know that. Tell them that it makes me very uncomfortable, speak to them, talk to them in a nice manner, let them know that the teacher is also not comfortable when adults are going around in a virtual classroom. You can talk to them and let them know. Okay, but you have to be more accountable, more responsible. Then the parents will also feel more confident letting you make your own decisions. Okay?
Okay, the independence part of with your parents come by assuring them that you can take care of yourself. Parents usually hover over you when they're not confident enough that you can take control of your schedule. So, I need you to take up steps to learn new techniques and show them that you have time management, planning, organization. You don't need their scaffolding. It's going to take time. Okay, it's not going to happen overnight, but you should have a talk with your parents and ask them what areas of concern do they have about you. Take that and break it down into steps or techniques that you will learn to fix that problem. Okay, if they have 3 issues, pick up one issue and work on it and show them the results. It's not like parents take pride in micromanaging you. They're just desperate. They don't have another way out, right? So be the CEO of your life. You don't want your parents to constantly ask, hey, did you finish your assignment? Hey, did you hand in your homework? Hey, did you attend the Zoom class? Hey, I got an email from the teacher. You know what? They don't want this, right? So you show some kind of progress, okay, some kind of initiative, and your parents will be there for you. They're your best advocates.
Oh yeah. Our parents are our well-wishers, and they do what they think is best for us. When things do get uncomfortable, having an open conversation definitely helps, and taking responsibility and showing it too will definitely go a long way. Moving on to our next question posed by undergraduate students.
How do I create meaningful and valuable relationships with my professors through online courses?
So, usually you would typically talk to the professor after class, before class, go to their office hours to ask for help and kind of maintain that relationship with them. Although your classes are virtual this time, that same process still stays intact. So yeah, you might not be able to talk to the professor one-on-one before or after class because it is virtual. You can always take advantage of email. Email the professor, tell them that you want to get to know them better, and you want to talk about the course more, you're interested in what the professor researches, what the professor does, and you can schedule like a one-on-one meeting with the professor. And I'm sure if your classes are like 100% virtual, the professor will definitely have like a scheduled amount of time for his office hours. And I honestly think that a lot of students, since it is virtual, that they'll just take advantage of the fact that, okay, well, the professor isn't going to see me in person, so I don't have to actually go to their office hours, and which could actually be a great opportunity for you and like any student that's making the best out of the situation to like take that first step into going to that professor's virtual office hours, and the professor will see that you really are trying to engage and have the same type of relationship, whether it's virtual or in person. So at the end of the day, the professor's still the professor, whether it's virtual or in person. So they're going to appreciate it, and it's really going to help you at the end of the day, being able to connect with the professors, again, like regardless of the medium.
Again, a fantastic question on how should you make the best out of these virtual remote courses. Now, most of the courses are structured using what's called as a live mode. All right. So if you think about online coursework, there are two options. You could have a remote asynchronous material. What that means is that your professor is going to upload videos, and she will probably interact with you over email, or she might have a Facebook page that would allow you to interact with her. That's one option. So that's called the asynchronous mode. The other mode is what we call as a live mode. In a live mode, we are all sitting through a Zoom connection or maybe any other platform, Teams or any other online platform, where the faculty is available live, right, along with every student out there, and you interact, right? You make the students talk to each other. The faculty calls on you. So for example, when I conduct my classes, I'm on Zoom. I have my 50 students with me, and we all have discussions. I call on Melissa, I call on George, I call on Adam, I call on all these people, and they are all talking to me, right? And we talk to each other. We also have breakout rooms in Zoom that would allow you to talk amongst each other to solve some problems. So actually, the virtual classroom has a lot of very cool features that enhance your productivity. So that's a great thing that online platform does for us. And so what I have, in my experience, what I have seen is that actually going remote can have some very interesting benefits that even a face-to-face interactions may not give you. And professors are always looking to make sure that their students are learning and that they build that relationship and engagement with the students. So we always look for ways to make sure that every single student in my class feels comfortable and gets a good learning experience. So for example, I conduct review sessions, extra office hours, other sorts of conversation sessions where we go over and beyond even what we do in coursework to discuss issues. So there are multiple sort of engagement activities that we create that would help us foster some relationship with my students. And that's going to be the way it's going to continue. You can always reach out to your professors to have one-to-one online chat, and that would also help you build a one-to-one relationship with your professor. So by all means, I know that professors and faculty are eager to sort of engage with students, so go and use that resource when you're in college.
Ways you can build a relationship with your professor through virtual learning is almost every professor offers office hours after the lectures. I would definitely recommend logging into those office hours, and even if your question is something small or simple, it's a good way to show face and get in touch with your professor and start a connection. Beyond that, if you cannot make it to the office hours, you can always go out of your way to email the professor, but keeping in touch is your biggest advantage in the virtual world. And after that, if you can always reach out to the professor and ask them if they're working on some sort of research presently, and if they are, if there is a way that you can help out with that research and maybe shadow them and take more of a genuine interest in what they're working on.
Okay, so virtual or in person, there is no distinction in my point of view, right? You just need to have a high resolution camera. I'm just kidding, so that your face is clear. But it's the same thing. Make eye contact. be attentive in class, right? Ask fairly good questions, be involved. Make mistakes, be actively participating in them. Ask them questions, touch base with them with emails and be on top of that. Find out what is the method or what is the blueprint of your professor, right? That's a good start. Find out how your professor likes to communicate. Do they chat on a tool that is online? Do they like emails? Do they like asking questions in the class? Everybody has a technique. Is your professor super organized that he puts in all the assignments, deliverables in the beginning of the class? Or is your professor fly by wire and likes to surprise you? So try to understand your professor and make an impact. And it's the same as in person or online. There is no distinguishing here, right?
Yes, reaching out in various virtual ways are still available and possible, and we as students should make the best use of them. Coming up is a very generic high school concern.
What opportunities are there for me to further my interest in business?
Okay, fantastic. That's a good question. There's always design thinking methodology. I would ask you to Google it, look it up. That's a Harvard methodology that will help you in business where you develop a minimal viable product. I suggest you look into it. And this is a very good time where there are so many free webinars that are being offered all over the place. Go look for webinars, participate in them, ask questions, right? There are so many universities like Stanford and Harvard and MIT who've come up with so many courses. Go look into them, see how you can build it. What is your passion? Do you like marketing? Do you like sales? Do you like product management? Do you like product development? Or are you a services person? There are a lot of aspects to business and entrepreneurship, which I would suggest you self-reflect, find out, go be curious. If you don't have an answer right now, you don't know what you want, go figure it out, discover, learn new things. There's so many opportunities out there. Due to COVID-19, a lot of courses have come out remote, which in a regular situation, you wouldn't have had access to it. So go for it.
If you're a high school student and you're interested in business, ways that you can further your interest, especially in a time like COVID, would be to first reach out to family members. Many times family members will have a small business or be working for a company, and you can always email them and reach out to them and see if they would be willing to spend a few hours talking with you on Zoom, just kind of showing you what they do for their business, how their workday goes, and maybe they'd even be willing to let you shadow them for a meeting. And I know several small businesses are always looking for volunteers, especially now with hybrid learning becoming a possibility for the fall. Many of them need help, and you can always reach out to local businesses, education centers, camp groups, and any of those businesses are always willing to take on a high school student to train them and have them volunteer or even get a paid position for a few months so that they can learn more about the business.
I would suggest maybe doing the following. One is pick up the Wall Street Journal. It was one of the best ways I learned about what was happening within the business world and what were the new innovations happening in the business field across all industries. And it allowed me to get a pulse of the news of, the Fortune 500 companies to new startups. So I would say students who are interested in learning more, one of the best ways is just read the news, read the Wall Street Journal, pick up The Economist, pick up the New York Times. One of my professors at college, he told me that if you don't start your day with the Wall Street Journal, you're already behind. So that's one strategy. And it doesn't have to be the Wall Street Journal, but whatever it is, those business publications, the few that I've named, are ones that I would at least seek out and see if you find them interesting, or if nothing else, if there's a niche area within the business world, an industry that you're interested in, there's enough publications out there that, a student can also learn about what's happening in that space. The second is I would encourage students to get a job, maybe be, whatever it may be, again, what that interest is for that individual. But one of the best ways to also learn is by doing. So try to get an internship or a job over the summer or during the school year if you can manage it, to just learn. And also on the job, you naturally learn about some of the business elements that, apply to what your work entails. And the third thing that I would also recommend is to talk to others who are in that space. So network. I have found in my career that many people are willing to give their time to help newcomers in that space, to help students learn about their own career path and what brought them there. So I would say that reach out to individuals, whether it be through your parents, through your friends, through your professors, through your teachers, and they can help you make those connections to learn about some of the industries within the space, about how they chose the path that they did. And I found that very helpful as well. And again, I've never found anyone in my career, at least, not offer up some portion of their time to help me learn or to help me understand the path that they took. So that would be the third way that I would encourage students who are interested in business, is to read the news, potentially get a job, and learn by hands-on application. And the third is by talking to others and to network through the various ways that you have opportunities to learn.
Thank you for introducing us to the concept of design thinking. And I think this will apply to one of our future questions relating to building products. And yes, webinars and shadowing small businesses are also great learning opportunities as well. Coming up is another high schooler question.
What are some strategies to stay on task and organized for school assignments?
Staying organized through schoolwork, tasks, assignments, college applications is going to be very important. Simple advice that has helped me immensely through my career is a book by David Allen, Getting Things Done, GTD. It's been an incredibly powerful book. Usually reading a book doesn't change your life dramatically, but this book did.
This is an extremely not just important but a relevant question to everyone. Throughout this panel, one thing that I've always emphasized, and I will emphasize, is keeping a schedule. Have a tight schedule, right? Prepare a good schedule for yourself. Don't live in a random fashion, right? I mean, just don't do anything that comes to your mind. Keep your life a little bit more organized, and that will go a long way in handling with stress, exhaustion, and more importantly, with all these transition that's going on with hybrid learning. So I would say structure it as much as possible. Make a schedule and keep it, right? So have a set schedule for doing your homework, math homework, for your science homework, for the other homeworks. Make sure that you focus on your own physical energy and physical strength, figuring out what you need to do to work out. Always take time to work out. Do not eat junk food. That does directly correlate with how well you're doing academically, because the more you eat junk food, the harder it is for you to concentrate, right? So because you get tired too soon. So try and keep a schedule and live with it. That always helps you finding. I always like to think of improving and finding the 2.0 version of yourself, and that helps even in school assignments. Again, set schedule. Okay, when an assignment is released, understand how much time it should take, and the teacher will give you an idea. Okay, you can ask the teacher, how long do you think it's going to take? Let's say if it takes 10 hours and the assignment is due in a week, do not do 2 hours every day. Start with 4 hours, then go to 3 hours, then 2 hours, and then 1, you're done, right? So give yourself a buffer for 1 day all the time. Do not plan to do assignments till the last day where it's due, because you never know what's going to happen, right? Your internet might be out, you may have a power loss, you know, that's the best case scenarios of the bad, right? All the way to falling sick. So there's a whole spectrum of things that could happen between an assignment being given to you and when it's due. My suggestion is always stick to a schedule, start early, work on it as much as possible. Working early, putting efforts early in everything will let you reap rewards later. So that would be my statement.
So here is when I bring in my executive functioning coach hat. Okay, so executive functioning is about time management, planning, organization, flexibility, metacognition, working memory. I can go on and on about the 10 different aspects of it. Okay, so now more than ever, you have to make your executive function work for your progress. Okay, the structured learning that used to come from school, the accountability that used to come from school is gone. Poof. So you've got to be on top of things, like go over your Power School or any tool that you have on Sunday and chalk out and map out your whole schedule for the week, right? And every morning have a routine, right? Have a goal, a mini goal that you set every morning. This is what I want to learn. I have a unique methodology that I teach: GAPE, goals, action plan, and execution. So have a goal, like self-reflect. Make mistakes. Never be afraid to make mistakes, right? Go over your goals. See what worked, what didn't work, and how you can improve on it. So there is no shortcut to hard work. And guess what? COVID-19 means you have to work 10 times harder, right? That's what makes it unique of the situation, is the kid who's going to be most adaptable, flexible, and driven is going to reach the finish line.
A virtual classroom is almost similar to a regular classroom. Just like you would save all your work on a folder or a notebook, the same way, make use of the innumerable number of apps and websites that offer you help in organizing all these notes. Make sure you have all this organized well, because some of you might take an SAT subject test or some of you might take an AP test. So when you start preparing for that, you can go back to these notes and look it up. One thing that most teachers hate hearing is when students come up to them and say, "Miss, I lost all my work. I don't know what happened. I worked the whole night. It all disappeared in the morning." So make sure that you don't have a complaint like that. You back up everything, do it on a Google Drive, make sure that it automatically saves your work, have a copy in your Google Drive, send it to your email, save all the schoolwork on your school given drive, and save some in your, save all of them if possible in your personal drive too. So that is very important. Another thing that I wanted to talk about is, as we step into the virtual classroom, your teachers are going to give you tests and quizzes online. And when they give tests and quizzes online, we expect academic honesty, integrity, and think that students will not plagiarize their work. You might think that the teacher is not noticing it, but almost all testing apps or all testing utilities that we use, whether it is Canvas or Blackboard or other Google Classroom, all of them have unique settings in them, wherein the teacher can see whether the student took 20 minutes to answer a question, did he pause the test, or did he pause a question and he got up to look for the answer. We have our own ways of looking at it. We might not say anything, but we keep it in the back of our mind, and teachers do talk to each other. So if I have a student who is doing that, I'm sorry, I feel like it's not a threat, but please be aware of it. Your academic honesty and integrity is very, very important, and high school is the best place to learn about it. And if you get into that habit right in high school, college will be much more easier. And even though sometimes we cannot do anything about it, we tend to talk to other teachers and we become aware of the students who are doing that, and we make it a point to note your names down. So again, not a threat, but I'm saying it's very important. You might think it is nothing serious. So say I'm giving you a virtual lab to complete in a science classroom. Most of the virtual labs online have their answers online itself. So do not copy from those answers. Try to do your own work. If you have any questions about it, ask your teacher, email your teacher. She might be able to help you. But do not take the answers online, because we know what answers are available online, and the moment we see those answers, we know it is from another website.
One of the best ways to stay on task with school assignments is to create an agenda and a plan for yourself. And you have to make sure that within that agenda, you're allocating enough time for each activity and also building in a buffer. I know that's easier said than done, but part of the first step is at least outlining what needs to get done and what time frame, and also outlining when are the due dates for those deliverables. If students can at least start off by planning out their day, that gives almost a natural structure to what needs to happen. And again, you have to create a balance for yourself. It comes down to making sure that you focus on the schoolwork, what's needed, but at the same time creating enough of that bandwidth within that structure to take a break and to relax. Because, you know, schoolwork can always pile up, but part of it is just planning ahead and creating that structure around yourself. So make sure that you allocate enough time to get your tasks done for school, but in that structure and in that agenda, make sure that you're breaking in the time for yourself, because part of being able to stick to that agenda is making sure that it's not front-loaded with just schoolwork or also just front-loaded with all work. It really is about a balance, but starting out to just map that out for yourself and create a routine and a structure where maybe the first 3 hours of your day, you're focused on the schoolwork, and then maybe there's a break, and then you go back to schoolwork. That in itself creates a mental space in your head to know what you're working towards and what is when those breaks are coming. So I think that's one of the best ways I've seen, at least as I've managed my career, is about creating the structure, creating the agenda, and planning ahead. Those are some strategies I would also offer up to students who are trying to do the same with their school assignments.
Lots of organizing techniques, and here's that emphasis on discipline again. Thank you all for that guidance. Our next question comes from undergraduate students looking for job opportunities.
With limitations on social interactions, what suggestions do you have on looking for potential career options given that a career fair might not exist this year?
That's a great question. So the question is about career fairs, and career fair is a very important medium through which students and the interviewers, the companies, interact. So obviously with coronavirus and the social distancing protocols, these fairs have not yet come into play. So what should you do? And that's a very important issue to think about. If you're a senior already, and then you should think about reaching out to people through LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, and for those of you who might not have already have your profiles on LinkedIn, this is a great time to set that up. All right, LinkedIn is the platform that will help you connect with people through maybe your social circle into employers who are actually looking for people. Right, I see ads on LinkedIn all the time asking for certain skill sets. So please, by all means, use LinkedIn. I must also say that the non-existence of career fair, I personally view that as something that's temporary. It's going to come in one form or the other. Maybe you would see some virtual sort of career fairs popping up. I also think that a face-to-face one should happen quite soon. It's just a matter of time. So for those of you who are still not yet in your senior year, it doesn't matter. You would get an opportunity to do that. In the meanwhile, though, yes, your internships, etc., has to come from some other source. So keep that in mind.
The recruitment policies are evolving around all firms right now, from a direct interview process, career fairs, things that were the normal in the past. The new normal is all Zoom meetings and Zoom interviews. In many ways, as challenging as it might sound, it's actually, not a bad thing. So settling in the comforts of your home, feeling prepared, feeling less nervous than in a live interview, it can actually help you. And the firms understand the stress, understand the mental pressure that students and college graduates are going through, and firms and the employees in the firms are also going through a lot of training on how to conduct an interview in a meaningful manner. So as much as it is stressful for you, it would be stressful for the firms and the employees. So everyone's taking the right steps towards having a meaningful interview process.
Yeah, virtual interviews can be daunting, but there are still ways that you can stand out. Thank you so much for that discussion. Our next question comes from undergraduate students as well.
How important is it to get internships during the summers following your first few years of college? And how do we approach the application process for internships?
Internship is a great way to get some hands-on learning experience in a job, and it is important. But I wouldn't be too stressed about taking an internship opportunity in the very first year that I'm in college. All right. The very first year in college is more about figuring out what college is, figuring out about what you want to do a little bit from an academic standpoint. And so, of course, internships help in that process. But again, you don't have to get stressed if you don't have an internship opportunity. And the form of internship opportunity could be very different, and you could still get that even in this coronavirus times after the first year. For example, a lot of people are looking for research support, right? Which involves you to work from home rather than work in a physical place. And I'm pretty sure that there are a lot of such opportunities out there. I, for example, have reached out to some people to take in as some research support when during these summers, right? And I've used college students, and they all are working from their home. We have Zoom interactions with each other, and productivity is excellent. I have no questions about that. And I'm pretty sure from a little feedback that I have got, they're having a good experience and they're learning something from this whole internship exercise. For those of you who are in the first year, I would think that you could use professors in the college or others to give some small task or some small project that you could complete from your own home. And that could make it easier on you and on those who are trying to give you the opportunity, because they don't have to worry about making sure that you're COVID-free, giving you an office space, social distancing, etc., etc. Now, as you go through college, when you reach your third and the fourth year, then internships matter a lot more. And in fact, what's been interesting in this coronavirus times is that companies have actually stuck to it. They have encouraged students to do their internships, although they're saying, just do it remotely, right? And they have worked with the students to set up certain opportunities. And so the traditional system of internships leading to jobs still exists, and that's going to exist. The form of internship might be different for this year and perhaps the next year, but it's going to be the same route. So for those of you who are early on in your college, don't worry. For those of you who are later on in your college, that system still exists, all right? So that would be my two key points about internships.
Oh, this is fantastic. I myself run an internship program called Gifted Intern, right? What you have to do when you approach somebody is not just tell them your resume or recite your GPA or say how fantastic you are. You've got to find out what that person really needs and offer them help. Tell them that, hey, I have this talent and it would genuinely help you. And in the process, I can learn something about you, right? Not about you, but about the industry. Anybody out there, if you show your dedication and willingness to learn, will take you in their fold, right? But an internship is something that you drive. What you want or what you want to get out of it is the amount of effort that you put in. It's the amount of questions that you ask, right? So it can be an unpaid internship that you go in a field that you like. So go there, put in your work, understand their business, understand their culture, okay? Understand their way of working, learn, and see how well you can contribute, right? Instead of asking the question, what is in it for me? Say how well you can contribute, right? So that is the success to any internships.
So one of the ways that a lot of college students, whether they are losing their internship opportunities or have already lost these job opportunities or struggle finding new opportunities in terms of internships or full-time offers. The best way to go about like handling the stress and the change in environment and all of the changes that are happening right now would personally, I think, would be to just believe in yourself, believe in the experience you already have, believe in your education, because none of that has changed due to COVID. What has changed is just the scope of opportunities and kind of how the jobs are actually structured. So a lot of opportunities may not be hiring in person, of course, but there could be similar opportunities at these companies that are virtual. And if not, widen your spectrum of finding jobs. So I know like you're probably looking at the top companies in your field. Maybe try looking for smaller companies and just try to get some type of experience during this time. I know it's really stressful, but if you keep having hope and keeping optimistic and making the best out of the time you have, that's not going to hinder your future career at all. In fact, it's just going to make you stronger and a better applicant for the future. So just keep being positive about different opportunities that come your way, big or small. It doesn't matter at this point. And just keep leveraging that for the future. And the experience you already have and the education you already have will definitely make you a viable candidate. And really, like, everyone's in the same boat at this point in time, especially in college. Some schools are going back, some schools aren't. So, and regardless, all career fairs, all job fairs, they're all virtual. So everything's back on the same playing field. So yeah, as long as you keep your hopes up, keep being optimistic, and leveraging your past experience and taking advantage of opportunities, big or small, that'll really help manage the stress of COVID and also keep you in the running for once all of this is over, to get right back into the job playing field.
Yes, there are so many ways you could still get internships and experience without having to deal with the anxiety that is usually associated with them. Our next question is another concern focusing on hands-on learning.
Because of inability to attend classes, how will medical students be trained to deal with situations like COVID-19?
Unfortunately, I can't speak to that because I am not someone from the medical profession. But in general, I would like to sort of rephrase this question a little bit and think of it as, if students can't attend college in general, how would they know how to deal with coronavirus situation? And that's a very fair point. And that's why most colleges are starting out a phased sort of rolling out phased sort of opening of the college, and they're bringing back students in different forms, right? So for example, some universities I know is bringing half of freshmen for the first half of the semester and the second half of freshmen for the second half of the fall semester. So colleges are coming up with innovative ways to bring students into college so that they get that experience of being physically present in the college. And it also trains them how to live in a COVID world where you take care of yourself, make sure that you adequately practice social distancing, and at the same time, do the tasks that you have wanted to do, which includes studying, playing, preparing for something, any of these things, right? So colleges are working on that to make sure that there are committees that are making sure that there is safety for students, and at the same time, they're able to get to do what they want to do in the college sort of circumstance. So hopefully, if you are a little patient for maybe a semester, we will figure this all out together, all right? Because it's a learning experience for all of us who's involved. So we'll figure it out together. I'm pretty sure that we'll all be back on campus and start to have face-to-face interactions, along with perhaps some amount of online sort of interactions as well. And it would be a model that is different from what has existed, but I'm pretty sure that the learnings would not be same.
Okay, that's a tricky one. So all medical schools, since they are in the medical profession, they have a much better sterile environment as compared to the non-medical fields, right? So there is a part of theory and practical that is involved in becoming an expert in the medical field. So the focus would be on theory for now. And you can explore universities, what they're doing. But do keep in mind that universities are equally struggling to make a decision, because the first and foremost thing is to keep you safe, right? So don't think that this situation is working against you. Leverage it. Make the best of the situation. Everybody's in the same boat. It's just not you, right?
Yeah, this would apply to all courses that require lab work and in-person demonstrations. But just like all of our other challenges, there are ways that we can get around it and make it work. On to our next question.
Even as an adult with a career, how do you continue to learn?
So adult who's already in a career also needs to continuously learn. Over the last decade or so, we have all grown to realize that it's not like you go to college, finish your college in 4 years, and then you're done with education. No, the jobs that have since come up and are continuously changing requires you to adapt and change as well, which means all jobs require continuous learning and training, unless you want to just be a dinosaur, right? So you have to adapt and change, and online learning or any form of learning is an integral part of that sort of ongoing education system. So we see over the last decade or so, colleges offering either in-house, face-to-face delivery, or through online platforms, Coursera, MIT Openware, lots of others who now offer online degree certificate programs. So even LinkedIn offers certificate programs. So those are avenues that one could potentially tap into and see if they can build their resume and skill set. What I have noticed is even those people who have been laid off, it just takes them 1 or 2 courses in the span of a month or 2 that completely retools them into doing something that is of greater demand. For example, data analytics is of great demand at the moment. There could be some people who might be working on something that is related to data but not really be aware of data analytics, like Tableau or something like that. And so they go in and learn that in a month or 2 months, and then they suddenly feel that there is a lot more job opportunities that they could have than they did not have before. So I think continuous learning as an adult, even with a career, is very important. And it also helps you remain current, and it helps you change the course of your career as you move along. So remember that from 20 years to when you're about 70, you're going to be working, right? So it's about 50-year career, and you are going to change, the environment is going to change, and it's about navigating the setup. And education continuously helps you move and navigate through these changes. So online continuous education is a great way to keep you up to date. Even going to a college for an executive program, degree program, a short course, that's great. It energizes you. It sort of brings back those memories of college, helps you build friends, helps you build contacts who can later help you get jobs and so on and so forth. So I would highly encourage those of you, even with a job, to use the coronavirus opportunity to take some downtime to retool yourself for the post-coronavirus.
So this is what I talk about, the 6 human needs. Is anybody who wants to be successful in life needs to grow and contribute, okay? There is no age to not learning. The most successful people read. Okay, you've got to read, you've got to add value, constantly be learning, okay? Learning just doesn't stop in high school or in college, right? If you're in a career, you have to constantly innovate yourself, find out what's like the newest thing out there and be abreast of the situation, and go get more educated on it, like get a master's degree or some certifications. Constantly learn and keep giving back. Right? Growth and contribution are the cornerstones to success.
As they say, there is no end to learning, and there are always ways to keep your mind open for more and more learning possibilities. Moving on to our next question.
So what do you think the long-term effects of remote learning will be?
I am excited about remote learning, and coupled with the digital resources that we now have at our disposal, I think remote learning is the path forward, and it can have a great positive impact on our students. Now in March, we had to transition to remote learning, and I have to give a shout out to the teachers who really adapted well and continue to serve their students to the best of their abilities. Let me take this conversation beyond what is going on now. What the remote learning that we are seeing right now is a necessity to keep our children safe, but it can never replace the experience of in-class, in-school learning. That level of interaction is absolutely required for the development of the whole child. And in a K-12 educational setting, remote learning can take the place of a very robust support or supplement to what's going on in the classroom. Remote learning allows teaching and learning to expand beyond the confines of the classroom, to not be limited by space and time. And it can be really wonderful if educators and parents are able to steer the ship in the right direction. So remote learning allows for inequities in access to be resolved to a certain extent. Students all over the world, young people all over the world are able to collaborate productively through remote learning. Can you imagine if our teachers are able to then take their students and plug them in to another classroom in another part of the world, and the first thing that comes to my mind is a history lesson, because I was a history teacher. That's my go-to content area. My students in my school learning about, let's say, Japanese history or French history or Indian history are able to plug in remotely to a history class in those countries where they can learn from their peers and teachers of that country about that country's history. Now that's just exciting to me. A few years ago, I had an opportunity through a US Department of State grant to go to Senegal, and I taught there for a few weeks. We connected elementary students in a town called Colder to elementary students in a city in Oklahoma. That was just so wonderful to watch, that engagement. They couldn't understand each other's language that well, but they bonded, and it was beautiful. I mean, that's the kind of experience we want to bring to our students in the K-12 sector. Remote learning allows for that. Remote learning allows for collaboration between peers to make this world a better place. And however cliched that may sound, I am an educator, primarily an educator who believes that we can carve the way for our students to make this world a better place by understanding each other better. So remote learning allows for that. I am very excited about it. I hope it is here to stay. It's not that something which will go away once this pandemic is over, hopefully soon, that we can learn from the experience of remote learning and blend it with in-class instruction. Now that more digital resources are being explored by both educators and by students, I think we are positioned to take remote learning and go, to expand it and move forward in embracing new ways of teaching and learning.
Remote learning, I don't think it's there to fully stay, okay, but that's my personal opinion. But some classes that we are now realizing can be done remotely, much more effectively. Some of these meetings and other stuff, some of the classes I think can be done remotely. But then there are classes that require labs, that require face-to-face interaction, and they cannot be done remotely at all, right? So there is going to be that realization in the next year. First, we are now focusing on putting out the fires, and then we'll focus on how to rebuild our infrastructure. So once we start doing that, we will realize that some courses can be done, I think, and this is, I'm going to make a bold prediction and say some courses are going to be done in a hybrid manner, where half the classes is going to be online. I think that we're going to invert the classrooms more often than not, where most of your work is actually at home or in your dorms, wherever you are in school, and you're going to read the necessary material, and in the class it's just going to be an inverted classroom kind of an approach, where we're going to discuss the material rather than going like a one-way communication where I'm talking like non-stop nonsense in some sense. So you guys will be able to benefit from this inverted classroom if we go down that path. So that, I think, is going to be the future, and I think that a hybrid model is going to be there everywhere. We're going to understand and adapt as necessary. That's one of the greatest, in my opinion, one of the greatest aspects of human is how well we adapt to change. So I think that's what's going to happen post-pandemic.
Yes, that's very helpful information to make the best of remote learning. And on to our last question of the day.
As I prepare to enter high school, is it more important to pick interesting and useful classes, or is it better to challenge yourself with a bunch of AP and honors classes?
Okay, so here is the deal with high school. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Okay, so what happens is we want to progressively increase our workload, right? In the freshman year, you're getting used to being in high school. So you start off with honors program. A lot of school districts don't allow for APs in the freshman year or the 9th grade. You get used to it, right? And then you see a big progression. And also, I would say pick up courses that are most interesting to you first. And all of them have an advanced honors courses or AP courses with that, right? So yes, you have to progressively challenge yourself. But in the freshman year, I would suggest that you ease into it. You just don't take on a huge workload and get crushed by it, right? It should be a balance, okay? And just don't take on courses because somebody else is doing it or your parents want you to do it, right? You should be passionate about it, right? It has to align with what your talents are, right? And it's a marathon, okay? You start off with honors course, you subsequently increase the workload. You take 3 APs in the sophomore year, you take 4 APs in the junior year, you take 5 to 6 APs in the senior year. So there is a progression that is required.
AP and honors courses, you should have a healthy mix of AP and honors courses in your coursework. Colleges look for rigorous workload. Like I said earlier, if you're not intending to take up medicine, don't waste all your time and stress yourself taking AP biology. Find something that you really love, take it up, and so you will be able to score really well. And if it is a subject that you're not very sure, take an honors class in that. If you're offered honors, take honors in that, just to check out if it's a good fit for you. High school is mostly a place where you figure out which is a good fit for you and which is not. Sometimes when you think, oh, I don't like it, maybe when you take an elective in that topic, you might like it and later on go more serious on that. So it helps if you take a mixture of both AP, honors, and good electives that you think you might be interested in.
How do you find the balance between making the best version of a product and getting the product in front of users as soon as possible?
This seems to be a very specific question on how to product in front of an audience. So I have to think a little bit about what the application is. So I might say a little bit, because the question is not very specific, I might be a little bit broad. So again, I'm going to talk about how whether it is important to take the product in front of the user first, or should you try to wait to get the best product. Now, this has nothing to do with the coronavirus times, right? I mean, it depends on what need of the customer is being satisfied. If you believe that your product is ready enough to meet a customer's requirement, then by all means, it's important to take the product to the market, right? And I mean, current situations demand that you can't perhaps wait to get a lot of feedback. Maybe you might have to enter the market and then get feedback and move along. And in fact, I would like to bring your attention to the 2009 financial sort of crises that was happening in 2008, 2009. So the financial crisis that started way back in that about 10 years, 15 years close to now. At that time, again, it was the same problem. Business models were trying to understand how to cope up in the post-financial crisis world. And they were struggling, right? Whether to wait and then get the best product. But the problem is the definition of the best product was continuously changing. So the companies that have done well have been companies that have sort of entered the market with a reasonable product and then adapted to the requirements of the environment. So you have to be adaptable, and that's the key point. It's not about whether you have the product completely ready or not, but the question is whether you have the ability to quickly change and adapt the product as the needs change. And that's what is needed at this time than the product itself, right? I'm pretty sure the product might have been a good idea, but then if your environment changes and your product is not changing with the environment, then it's going to be obsolete. So you need to have, especially in these times when things are quite uncertain and things are quite a bit changing, you want to enter with a product and also have the capability to adapt to changing environments. That's what I would sort of do.
Isn't that so true even when we look at ourselves as a product? If we wait to be the perfect version we want to be before we establish ourselves, we may never get there. We have to determine an optimal time to establish ourselves and continue to better ourselves based on our previous experience. As with all our shows, we've had amazing inputs and recommendations from our very capable panelists, coming in at a perfect time where our new academic year is about to start amidst this pandemic. I can't wait to put some of these tips to good use, and I'm sure you all can't as well. Thank you so much. Yet again, it definitely helps us a lot when we see this kind of support from our mentors and leaders. Please keep following us on all our social media platforms, so YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at GSA COVID, as well as our website, www.gsacovid.org, to be informed about our upcoming activities, as well as more ways you can help and seek help. Don't forget, no help is too small and there is always something you can help with. You'll never know unless you reach out. Please continue to let us know your personal experiences around applying some of these insights to your everyday life by commenting on our social media posts, by sending us videos, or even emailing us at info@gsacovid.org. We would love to feature a lot of them on our next show coming up next Sunday, which will be focused on showcasing what students have taken from these panel discussions. Our fundraising campaign is still on and we are still working towards our goal of $20,000. Please hit the donate now button on our website to donate today to families across the globe face and fight COVID-19. Also remember, all volunteers that help us raise funds for this cause are eligible for the Melvin Jones Fellowship Award when they raise funds over $1,000. There is always an opportunity for you to be an MJF qualifier too. Just reach out through our website. Together, let's take a global stand against COVID. Are you a student going through a lot of anxiety?
Maybe stress or uncertainty due to COVID? Well, just know you're not alone.
We know what it's like to be going through all of these things, and we are here to help.
So come join us on all August Sundays, starting August 16th, where professional panelists will be sharing
their personal insights and their own stories of COVID-19
to help create more awareness around mental health challenges during this pandemic.
Let's take a global stand against COVID.
Teen Talks every Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Pacific times, only on TVASIA Telugu.
రండి రండి చెప్పేస్తే ఏం బాగుంటుంది ఆ బీట్ స్టార్ట్ కాగానే మీకే అర్థమైపోతుంది ఆస్వాదిద్దామా
Oh my god, daddy, just don't be my daddy. చాంగు బల ఇలాగా నేను ఎలా మారిపోయే చెంగుమని బలేగా మాటే మంత్రము మనసే బంధము.
చూసారు కదా, మీరు కూడా అలాగే పాటలు పాడి అందరికి వినిపించాలనుకుంటే సింగ్ అ సాంగ్ @tvasiatelugu.com కి మీ వివరాలు పంపించేయండి. అందరికీ నమస్కారం. వెల్కమ్ టు అనదర్ బ్రాండ్ న్యూ ఎపిసోడ్ ఆఫ్ డింగ్ అ డాంగ్ సింగ్ అ సాంగ్ ద స్పిరిట్ ఆఫ్ మ్యూజిక్. శిశుర్వేత్తి పశుర్వేత్తి వేత్తి గానరసం ఫణిహి అని అంటారండి. అంటే ఏంటంటే పసిపిల్లలు, జంతువులు, ఆఖరికి పాములు కూడా సంగీత రసాన్ని ఆస్వాదిస్తారట. అంత గొప్పది సంగీతం. మరి ఆ సంగీత రసాన్ని ఈ సాయంకాలం మనం కూడా ఆస్వాదిద్దామా? ముందుగా మీ అందరి కోసం నీ స్నేహం చిత్రంలోంచి ఒక బ్యూటిఫుల్ ఉషా గారు ఆలపించిన ఒక బ్యూటిఫుల్ సాంగ్ నేను ప్రజెంట్ చేయబోతున్నాను. దీనికి సంగీతం కట్టిన వారు 𝗟𝗚𝗡 గారు. మీకోసం.
చినుకు తడికి చిగురు తొడుగుకోవమ్మా, ఎవరి కనుల చిలిపి కలవు నువ్వమ్మా, మూవలి మనసు పడు పాదమా, ఊహలి ఉలికి పడు కాయమా, హిందోళంలా సాగే అందాల సెలయేరమ్మ, ఆమని మధువనమా, ఆమని మధువనమా, చినుకు తడికి చిగురు తొడుగుకోవమ్మా, ఎవరి కనుల చింతి కలవు నువ్వమ్మా.
మన కార్యక్రమంలో ఈరోజు మన కోసం ఎంతో ఆతృతతో పాడడానికి చాలామంది సింగర్స్ వెయిట్ చేస్తున్నారు. మరి మన ఫస్ట్ సింగర్ ఎవరో చూద్దామా? న్యూజెర్సీ నుంచి సుప్రసిద్ధ గాయకులు మనతో పాటు లైన్లో ఉన్నారు. హీజ్ ఆర్ గెస్ట్ సింగర్ ఫర్ టుడే, రాజీవ్ నేదునూరి గారు.
థ్యాంక్ యూ అండి, థ్యాంక్ యూ ఫర్ ఇన్వైటింగ్ మీ.
సో న్యూజెర్సీ నుంచి హీజ్ అ సింగర్. చాలా తెలుగు అసోసియేషన్స్ కార్యక్రమాల్లో ఎన్నోసార్లు పాటలు పాడారు. నేను కూడా ఆయనతో కలిసి చాలా ప్రోగ్రామ్స్లో పార్టిసిపేట్ చేశాను. సో హీస్ వెయిటింగ్ ఆన్ ద లైన్ టు సింగ్ అ బ్యూటిఫుల్ సాంగ్ ఫర్ అస్. మరి చూద్దామా? హాయ్ రాజీవ్ గారు, బాగున్నారా?
బాగున్నాం అండి, మీరు ఎలా ఉన్నారు?
ఐఎమ్ డూయింగ్ గుడ్, థ్యాంక్ యూ. వెల్కమ్ టు డింగ్ అ డాంగ్ సింగ్ అ సాంగ్ స్పిరిట్ ఆఫ్ మ్యూజిక్, మన ప్రోగ్రామ్కి.
థ్యాంక్ యూ ఫర్ ఇన్వైటింగ్.
థ్యాంక్స్ ఫర్ బీయింగ్ హియర్. సో ఈరోజు మన ప్రేక్షకుల కోసం ఏం పాట పాడి వినిపించబోతున్నారు?
ఒక మంచి క్లాసిక్ సాంగ్ అనుకుంటున్నా అండి. ఎస్పెషలీ మన కీరవాణి గారి అద్భుతమైన కంపోజిషన్ క్షణక్షణం సినిమా నుంచి.
ఓ బ్యూటిఫుల్. క్షణక్షణం సినిమా అంటేనే మనల్ని ఎక్కడికో తీసుకెళ్ళిపోతుంది. ఎస్పెషల్లీ ది బ్యూటిఫుల్ శ్రీదేవి గారు గుర్తొచ్చేస్తారు. సో దాంట్లో నుంచి ఏం పాట పాడుతున్నారు?
పాట వినండి మరి.
ఓకే, సో మన వ్యూవర్స్ కి కూడా